Hey everybody, welcome back to Integrative Psychonautics. Hope you're doing well out there. So in today's video, I wanted to start to present a couple other alternative ways of thinking about how we can work with psychedelics for healing and growth and transformation that are perhaps a divergence or kind of a variation of the standard way that psychedelic therapy and psychedelic healing is done. So in this particular episode, we're going to talk about what I like to call reverse integration, or another way of thinking about this would be using psychedelics to deepen work that's done up front with kind of therapeutic healing and change before your psychedelic session. So if that interests you, watch on. So if you're familiar at all with the kind of standard structure of psychedelic therapy and kind of how that format has been developed over time, or if you're learning about psychedelic therapy, you've probably heard of this kind of three-stage process of doing preparation, doing the session, and then doing integration work afterwards. In terms of psychedelic therapy work, the way most people think about it is, generally speaking, that the therapeutic work is either done during the psychedelic session, and a lot of people assume that's really where the therapy is done, which is often not the case, actually. Actually, that's often a much more open-ended experience where the person simply kind of touches base internally inside of themselves, and the therapist isn't interacting that much, but I digress. A lot of people assume it's either in the session, or there's a lot of emphasis right now being placed on the integration phase after the session in terms of doing therapeutic work with the material that comes up in the psychedelic experience. So what I'd like to propose to you today is maybe a little mini series that I'm going to do here of a few different videos on different ways that we can approach working with psychedelics that kind of diverge from this formula a little bit, or mess with this formula a little bit, that may be potentially more fruitful for you, more interesting, more insightful, more helpful. And the first one I want to talk about today is something that I kind of stumbled upon myself in my own recreational days, and something that I found to be really valuable to clients a lot. And this is a lot of where my attention, my head's kind of going these days, is putting more emphasis on prep, doing a longer prep. And I'm kind of starting to arrive at kind of this rule of thumb that the longer your preparation process, generally the better the outcomes of the session. And in general, the emphasis being switched to doing a lot of the therapeutic, healing, transformational work in the sessions and the prep sessions before the actual psychedelic session. And then using the psychedelic session instead of the place where the healing is done or the transformation is done as a way to deepen and integrate and kind of check in on the progress and on the work that has been made in the preparation. So I like to think of this as kind of a reverse to the integration phase. So let me kind of qualify that a little bit for you so you know what I mean. So a lot of times generally speaking, when we hear the term psychedelic integration, it kind of broadly means aftercare right now. It's kind of become this really loose umbrella term. I'll be doing videos about that too, where this encompasses helping people ground out, come back to their sense of reality, come back to their experience of their body, make sense, do some meaning making out of the visions and the impressions and the feelings and the lessons, putting that all together and helping a person to perhaps connect the dots between the experience they've had and the rest of their life, particularly the theme or the issue that they want to work on, so that maybe a deeper understanding or new insight arises out of that, or perhaps it's just kind of connected to the rest of a person's life so that that experience isn't so compartmentalized as this one crazy drug trip that they went on, right? That's kind of broadly how integration is thought of. I personally think of integration differently than that. I think of it much more in a neuroscience sense, where what we're actually doing is connecting the dots neurologically in the nervous system between states or experiences or resources or big breakthrough moments in psychedelics, connecting that back to whatever we need in terms of transformation and healing. So for me, integration is kind of this thing of literally integrating neural circuits after the session to help the person more deeply connect the breakthroughs that they experience in the psychedelic session into maybe the places where they need healing, this kind of a thing. So reverse integration then would be to do, again, the work up front where we spend sessions as long as we need to really generate a beginning, a new learning in the nervous system, healing, transformation, breakthrough, release of stuff, clarity of understanding of maybe our narrative arc or what's going on, if that's kind of been confused or kind of buried, developing skills, in prep of like how to navigate a psychedelic experience, how to navigate just relaxing and allowing information to emerge from the unconscious into the conscious, from the body into the mind, right? That's a huge skill in and of itself, learning how to open up, trust, relax, and kind of move with the rhythms of the unconscious and allow the information, the insights to arise. This is all stuff that can be learned beforehand that then becomes very usable and very helpful in session, right? But a lot of times the healing work can be done, before you even get to the psychedelic session. And it's not uncommon for clients to say to me, do I even need to do a journey anymore? At which point my question back to them is always, I don't know, do you? It's not my place to make those choices for people. But if we've kind of gotten someone to that place where they've already had a transformation, they've already had a healing, they've already had a breakthrough, and then they take the medicine, what often happens is a deepening, that same kind of neuroplastic quality, that same nervous system opening that allows kind of programming and messaging to get in and go deeper during a psychedelic session can be used to deepen work that was just done, right? So it can be a way to affirm and integrate more deeply into the system work that was done sober. So this is kind of an inversion. So hopefully you're getting my point here. The other way that this is often useful is sometimes when we do a good piece of growth work sober in our daily life, in our practices, and in transformational work, in therapeutic work, if we're really working that edge of things, a lot of times if it's going well, if we take the medicine, then what happens is we'll start to get confirmation, affirmation from our deeper self, or our higher self, or however you want to think of that. We'll get these messages like, you're doing the right thing, good job, you're on the right path, I'm proud of you, you're healing, you're growing in the right direction. So there can be this nice space in the psychedelic experience of kind of confirmation and clarity that you actually have healed and that you actually have done some really powerful, deep developmental work that's going to kind of last beyond the psychedelic experience. So I wanted to just kind of put this idea out there in the ethers, out in the world, in your attention, that another way we can use psychedelics is to kind of do therapeutic healing work, especially I think sometimes if we really need to go to like an intense place where there's going to be a lot of heavy emotion or grief or a lot of stress, a lot of letting go of traumatic material. Sometimes that's actually easier to do not in a psychedelic state, especially if you're not used to psychedelics, but when you're feeling safe, when you trust the therapist, when you can kind of negotiate with the therapist and be like, okay, I'm done processing for now, and take the pressure off. And you're not on a drug that's on a runaway train of continuing to force this processing to happen, right? So this is the other way you can go. You can do this work sober, make huge progress, and then use, especially I would say the classical psychedelics, but given the recent information we've seen about the opening of these critical periods, it might be true that any psychedelic can work to help kind of deepen and seal into our nervous system these new growth aspects, these new learnings, these new breakthroughs. So just want to put that idea out there. This is another way that we can work with psychedelics that's not really talked about much or not thought about much. But I think for anyone who's used them as a personal growth tool for a certain amount of time, or probably in indigenous communities, this is also known that they can also be used to kind of deepen the work that's already been done. So that's my message to you today. I hope this is interesting, useful, helpful in some way. And again, this is just one of these kind of ideas I want to put out there into the world to just kind of share, stimulate new ideas of different approaches to psychedelic therapy and psychedelic work for personal growth, purposes. So much love to you all. Thanks for watching. As always, if you like this kind of content, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Give a thumbs up to the video. Let the algorithm know that I'm out here and that I'm doing this. Help the channel grow. Share this with a friend if you like, that kind of a thing. And if you have any questions or comments, any thoughts that have arisen out of what I'm sharing here, please do leave a comment down below. I always welcome your commentary. All right, much love to you all. Take care. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.